Yeah, I have this problem. I was trying to run this query. Let me just put that in the chat. I'm not so sure whether this works, but yeah, I noticed that I wasn't able to get the field values for the gas use and the gas price.
Oh, let me share my screen.
Yeah.
I'm going to hope this isn't a doomed backfill error. Okay. Okay, so gas use, gas ETH here is non-existent. All right.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to it. But when I run the Ethereum table by itself, the transaction table by itself, there are field values. So I think I'm doing something wrongly here.
Okay, let me walk through the logic. So you have NFT trades on a specific NFT collection, which I'm just going to search up just
Sure.
in case. Okay, so chain runners, which is an ERC20 or ERC721. All right, so let's start here. I'm just going to run this section. Okay, no project name is fine. There's a transaction hash. Okay. Select ETH transactions as, okay. So this token address is the same as this one, right?
Yeah, the default one, yes.
Okay. And I'm guessing you do this and then you do a join. Let me just try this. All right, so the gas price, gas use shows up there, which you mentioned.
Yeah, you can ignore the price table. I didn't put in the price table yet.
All right, yeah. We're actually going to talk about prices later today because I realize that's something that's come up in a lot of these queries.
Mm.
Then the final here. So I'm guessing when you run this, nothing shows up. Okay, I guess first comment is you technically don't need to do ETH transactions as a CTE. Like what I would do is just join the transactions table directly, because essentially, all you're doing here is saying, check that this token address is being called and that the transaction was successful. Technically, this might be incorrect, right? Because if someone's traded an NFT, they might have called like the Genie Swap contract, and they might not have called the NFT contract, if that makes sense. So if you do this, you're filtering out the NFT, like the exchange contract address, technically. If that does that make sense?
Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah.
So the faster or the safer way to do it is just join. Just join it down
Yeah, I
here.
just wanted to cut down the table because the query process is pretty long.
Yeah, no, totally. Technically, if you do it like this is the same as doing it, I think, the way above. If you want, you could have, like, you could do the date filtering here.
Okay.
Like, so bigger than some date and success. You could do this. But let me see. Yeah, because you said this is still running slow. Let me see if there's a way to speed this up.
Yeah, I guess so. My error was more of the calling the wrong address.
Yep.
Okay, got that.
Yeah, let me know here. I'll send this in the chat just in case it's helpful.
Sure.
Just this bottom part. And we'll talk about how to, like, this only took like 30 seconds, but that's still somewhat long. There are sometimes ways of speeding that up, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, of course. Anyone have any other questions to start with?
I have a question.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone's dived into this yet, but I'm wondering a little bit about how you do a data analysis on NFT minting across a number of contracts, because NFT trades just covers secondary sales, right?
Yes.
So if you wanted to see like what NFTs are users minting, these users, would you have to pull those contracts in and go through them individually?
Yeah, good question. So for NFTs, mint. So a mint is essentially just a transfer from the zero address to the user, right? So the same way I think we checked mints before for DPI at some point, or maybe a few points, where we essentially just check like for the ERC20 transfer event, make sure make sure the from is like /x0000. So you can do the same thing here with ERC721s. So let's do. All right, so lucky me. These are all mints essentially. All these are showing up from 0. All right, so let's say I wanted to see like what's being minted the most in the last like 24 hours or something. I'll do where from equals the 0 address, and then the contract address is the NFT contract address. So I'll just do as NFT address. And I'll just do like a count, essentially. Num minted. And this is event block time. Okay, event block time. Greater than let's do 1 day. And group by. Order by. So this tells me that this NFT address had the most mints in the last 24 hours. What contract is this? Whatever this is.
And then you could join that to the NFT trades table on that contract address, right, and get more.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So if you wanted to see like the primary plus secondary, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you could join. Hold on. What's the fastest way to do this? Here. This is actually a good time to go through exists. All. Take out the order by. So let's create a secondary market table based on the first one. So let's do select all from. I just need to do this because I always forget what the column headers are. So what do we want? We want NFT contract address. I guess let's just do the count to keep it simple. So there's two ways I could do this, right? I could just do this and then do a left join. But if I want to make things faster, I can use this function called where exists. Right now we've been doing where in, so like where like NFT contract address in like select distinct NFT, what do we call it up here? So like traditionally we've been doing this, essentially. And then I could do, it's a bit redundant, but all mints a left join trades D on a dot T dot contract address. And then I'll just do a dot. Right, where technically I don't really need this here, but like I could run this and this would work. Probably a little slow, but it does work. Instead, if we do where exists, I should do, sorry. Sorry, let's do, all right. So let's do where exists instead. So exist is basically, it's kind of like in, where it's like, it's checking for the existence of one column in another column, kind of, or a set of columns. But it runs a little faster. So the column, this doesn't matter. You can just put one here. It doesn't really matter. But let's say I want to do basically the same where query here. I might just do, let's see, all mints a where a dot NFT address equals NFT contract address. I think that's how I do it. I still have to check this. Yeah. All right. So this is kind of saying the same thing, but it normally runs a good amount faster, especially as like this is better when sub. Yeah. So that ran like I think 8 seconds quicker. I believe. Actually, let's test both ways. Maybe it's the same time because this isn't large enough, but. This is better when subqueries have much. Oh, I actually ran a little slower. All right. So in this case, this is probably like a fairly small table. Like I'm guessing it's maybe like 200 rows or something. That's like the number of contracts that had mints. Oh, 700 rows. But if like you get into the thousands or hundreds of thousands, exists will be better. For checking, and in is going to be really slow. And I think we've already kind of seen this with the rabbit hole stuff. I haven't tested it yet, but like the rabbit hole, like there's like tens of thousands of addresses in there. And if you're checking with in, it might be a little slow. So you might want to use a where instead, but we'll cover that in a bit. But yeah, does that answer your question? Sorry, I know I added a
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
All right, I'll save this. Top minted NFTs flowers plus secondary traits. All right, I'll put that in here. Cool. Questions? I don't bite. I'm sure we have questions. Oops.
Andrew, I was just having a look at the swaps that were done in the MetaMask, right? So I was reading through a few of the articles, and Uh, the swaps that are done in MetaMask, they use the underlying other dexes as well, right?
I believe so.
So I was I was wondering what is the ratio in which the fees is split, because they charge, every dex is going to charge some amount of money, right? And does
Hmm.
that money include the gas prices? So I just wanted to know what the framework of analyzing things was there. I'll just ping my code in the uh, chat if you
Yep.
want to take a look at that.
Yeah, that'll be helpful. Which chat are you pinging this in? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. All right. Let's see. Um.
Can you just open any one revenue one? Can you just go at the very top and open the
This one?
code for this one? Yeah, 2208. Yeah, the right one.
Oh,
This is just
sorry.
the total value. Yeah, this one.
All right.
So essentially, I have just this is the contract address where the swap happens
Mm-hmm.
in MetaMask, right? And there is a different address when it comes to the Binance chain. So I've just when it comes to the Polygon chain, so I've just split it for the Ethereum and Polygon as of now. And no, this is not the
Oh,
code.
sorry. Wrong one.
Yeah. So what I've done here is I've just multiplied the amount of money, because I read that they take like 0.875 percentage of the total trading volume as a revenue, right? So
Yep.
first of all, I just wanted to ensure, is this logic correct? Uh, that this will be the revenue plus how will the gas prices be impacted? I don't know. I was just hitting a wall, so I just did all the.
Yeah. Let's take a look. Um. Boxer, I know you were talking about MetaMask swaps last week. I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. It looks right to me.
Yeah, all the other analysis that I've seen on Dune followed the same
The
principle.
same principle.
What we could do is during the swap, actually a small amount gets sent to a MetaMask wallet. So you could cross-check with that wallet using
Right.
ERC20 event transfers and some prices table. But conceptually, this makes total sense. That you're just you're looking at the US dollar amount that was traded, and then you're calculating the fee percentage that MetaMask is taking there. And I suspect because like this is just a long chain of transactions, like MetaMask routes through I think 1inch a lot, Matcha, Paraswap, like all these other aggregators. And what happens in their contracts is just they take the fees like somewhere before that. So makes total sense to calculate it like this.
Then that means the 0.875% will be slightly lower as well, but that number will be like negligible, because I saw the percentage that the 1 inch of Paraswap were taking was around 0.02%, if I'm not wrong. So
Yes, but I think like you give MetaMask, basically you say to them, I want to swap 1 Ether against, I don't know, 4,800 DAI. And then MetaMask just takes that fee from that 1 Ether. And basically the rate that you will be getting, I think that's basically going to be worse. I think that's how it's presented to you in the UI of MetaMask.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Andrew, you could open this in blocksy.info. There you can actually beautifully see that like a part of this there's like a outflow from this whole transaction bundle which goes through a MetaMask wallet.
All right. Oh, what in the world?
Yeah, that's just
yeah.
Blocksy.
So we have fees here. This is the main transaction. What was our transaction hash? 0D7. Hold on.
No, that's contract addresses in there.
Oh, right. Which swap router? So it came from this guy.
Yeah, then it goes to the router, and the router then routes to some DEX, and the DEX obviously interacts with a bunch of different tokens, and the DEX also routes like to the aggregator routes to the DEX, and in this case it's not even an aggregator; it seems to be just a Uniswap V2 pool.
I think I do see 1 inch.
Oh no, there's
Yeah,
1
yeah.
inch. Yeah.
So it went.
1 inch.
They interact with this contract. Hold on. So I'm guessing orange is orange is the high level call, like the direct call.
Top
there's a-
left over the visualization.
Oh, transfers. Sorry, what contract was called? Swap router. Okay, so this is the contract that was called. So called swap router, which makes sense. It calls. Hold on. How do I copy this address?
You can right click on it, and then it will open.
All right, hold on.
Then we'll open that address in a new. Yes.
It's a generic smart contract.
That's very
Is
helpful.
Hold on.
It's not cross-indexed with Etherscan, so Etherscan might know what it is.
They did not verify this contract.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I'm guessing this is.
This is probably their internal
IP,
routing logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it looks like this handles all the transfers.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, the first one's just a router, right?
Yeah.
Same as Uniswap's router.
right. So they're not transparent. Boo that.
Indeed.
So where's 1 inch getting called? Okay, 1 inch is being called by this mystery contract.
Yep.
With this Uniswap function. Withdraw. Yeah. Alright, yeah. Point being, yeah, fees are paid to MetaMask basically at the start of the transaction, it looked like.
Got it. And I'll pay some extra fee after that as well. But for the purpose of our analysis, the rough multiplication of the number is correct.
Yeah, that should
Fine.
be fine.
And
Yeah.
they're doing like crazy amount of volumes in the last few days.
Yeah, crazy amount of transactions. I've looked at your dashboard, and it seems the transaction number on Polygon especially is really ticking up.
Yes, yeah. Surprisingly, it picked up in the last 14 to 30 days. It has really picked up.
Yeah,
Earlier
there's
it was
a lot
like-
of a lot of rumors currently about like, hey, will MetaMask like release a token?
Yeah, I was
How's that
gonna
look like?
I saw that rumor.
You saw the criteria for the
Oh, there's
for
no-
the Paraswap token launch. That was like pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like they ensured that the minimum balance was there. You have made at least 5 or 6 transactions in the last 6 months, and you have not. They even clubbed the addresses. Let's say if you had like 60 addresses that were transacting within each other, they kicked it out. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah. They've been causing a Twitter firestorm, but I mean, some of what they did makes sense. A lot of it doesn't. Anyways, but yeah, another point here, I think you just see here, the token swap amount that like this would be paying Uniswap. This matches this Ether transferred, and the fee paid was separate, right? So to Boxer's point, like the fees paid to MetaMask before, like this is probably the swap amount they inputted. That's my guess. I think actually, hold on. Let's just.
You could look at the index, no?
I was gonna say, let's just see what. How do I swap from in here? Swap. Let's just see what they say. If I swap one. Oh, their interface is laggy. All right. Let's go to review swap.
Yeah, my guess is they'll just present you with a worse quote than it would actually be.
1 ETH.
Yeah, look, quote includes a MetaMask swap fee.
Right.
Yeah.
We find it's automatically factored into this quote, right?
They properly screw you over.
Yeah,
They really do. Maybe can you open up 1 inch for a second?
I was gonna say 1 inch.
Or I don't know, I usually use CoSwap nowadays, but
True.
Swap is like a whole
But
different.
the product flow is much better in the MetaMask, right? You don't have to check anything.
You don't have
it's
to
for
go
the
to a
apes.
different site. Yeah, so there's
But
like
if you're swapping like 50k, then it's actually like 0.875% is actually like quite a substantial amount of money. So
Yeah.
You're making a very rational argument, but the product flow is really broken. Ideally, a person who is savvy will definitely do it, but a lot of times, let's say someone just gifted you zero point 0.5 ether or something.
yeah,
You might not know all the dexes, right? So
yeah,
a lot of
sure.
people. It'll be very interesting to just deep dive what kind of people or what profile of people are actually doing this. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure there'll be very less overlap with the other DEX aggregator users doing it on Metaswap. Or it might be possible that once you transacted the churn, the rate of your retention at MetaMask really goes down or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I'd be very
Because
interested in
Boxer,
that.
I saw someone swapped more than 300k USD on MetaMask. I saw a transaction. I saw a user like that. So
I remember that user
I
was
don't know who
called
that
out.
guy is.
That user is called out on Twitter. I think Kobe called them out. A few months ago. It was like, who the hell is this? But
Farming
yeah.
the airdrop.
Anyways, yeah, no, there's a lot of interesting wallet analysis to do.
Yeah, but look, like just a quick like go back to 1inch. Like the user interface from 1inch is actually like super similar. It's like people just don't know of 1inch. I think that's the issue.
gas
look,
refund. Hold on.
Black
Wait
Friday,
a minute.
Black
What is
Gas
this? Hold on.
That's hilarious.
Sorry, I interrupted you. I've never seen this before.
Me neither.
Oh, users will refund on gas fees this next week.
Yeah, they released a new swap router just the other day as
Right.
well. So I think that's part of the marketing push for that.
That's hilarious. Why is this so small?
Yeah,
Okay.
defeats the entire purpose.
That's interesting. I've never seen that before. Participants. Well, there you go. Some free marketing for 1inch if you guys want some 1inch tokens next week. Anyways, but yeah, you can see there's a price difference here, or there was by like $30. Sucks MetaMask doesn't verify this contract. Anyways, but yeah, there's your answer. The fee is completely separate from the swap amount technically. Like Uniswap never sees it. So cool. The bridge part. Yeah. My input's being captured, right? Yeah, okay. My input's being captured. Going over that bridge part again from last time. I think this was for DPI. Essentially, just the TLDR of it is when we were looking at DPI on Ethereum, sorry, my brain. When we were looking at this on Ethereum, we found the set protocol basic issuance module or something like that, which issues DPI. But on Polygon, DPI isn't minted. Instead, DPI is bridged, right? So if I go to bridge away, right? If we looked here, you could see like essentially how bridges work is you send a token to this bridge contract, and then that bridge contract will lock it up and allow you to essentially mint or withdraw that token on like Polygon, for example, right? So what I was showing was if I go to here, where this and topic 1 equals, wait, why does this have no logs? That's not right. This is DPI, right? Yeah. right, you know what? I'm gonna use the token, the contract utility thing I made last week. Let me fork this onto Polygon. Oh, I wonder if this is too expensive to run on Polygon. It shouldn't be. All right. While that's working, let me see if I can find. I'm wondering why I don't see any. Let's just. So where was? Here. I need the 0 address from. I need topic 2, and I need just the last 40. Can I just do this? I'll just... Code. Okay, yeah, so there's a transfer event. There is whatever this event is. So let me just check the last transaction and look for this event. Okay, that's just approval. So this is approval and transfers. All right, makes sense. Cancel. So these are mints, right? So this is minted from one to another. I'm going to look at a transaction hash of a mint on Polygon. Oh, that's a lot. Right, there's a token deposited here. Let me just see if it shows up in overview. Swap add. Wait, this doesn't look right. There's too many tokens involved in this one. Hold on. Let me just take a different transaction hash. Okay, here we go. This one. So here you can see there's a deposit one from Ethereum. It sounds a little confusing, but let's look at what's going on here. So DPI's address is 0x859, right? So 0x859, I know this is the transfer topic because I recognize it. I don't know what this contract is. I don't know what this contract is. So let's take a look. Okay, so this is M spaceships, which doesn't really look like what I'm looking for. This is M must. Oh boy. This is the address.
Indeed, oh boy, I didn't know there was multi-asset bridging now. That's
I'm real.
That's properly confusing.
This is more confusing than was on yesterday's or last week's, but essentially, all right, this should have the same thing.
Nice spaceships.
I'm sure there's a deposit function in here. Great. So essentially, all I was trying to show in that last time was that your token can be deposited onto some contract. So in this case, this mint here. Oh, I see why this is confusing. It's minting from two. Oh god, this is not a good example. Sorry. Bridges are confusing because there's many different ways to set them up. I wish I had my example from last time because that one was a lot cleaner. Okay, I think this might be the one I'm looking for. Ah, thank God. All right. This is a normal mint, essentially from Ethereum, I think. So if I put this in here. Right. So I can see this A59, this is DPI. That's like your normal transfer event emitted. And then there's this secondary event. So I'm like, all right, well, what is this contract? It's called UChild ERC20 proxy. So I can look through this and I can see it's it's a proxy contract. So I need to go to the implementation, which normally you can either go to the read contract and find the implementation, or read as proxy and Etherscan will show it to you. So I'll go here. And now I have like the in-depth kind of version of it, or the actual like logic. If I scroll through here, I could look at it through like Solidity, Visual Debugger, but I already know that there was some sort of deposit function being called. So notice this calls when the token is deposited on the root chain should only be callable by child chain manager, which might be something I look into. But essentially there's a deposit, and if I deposit, then I get some sort of mint, right? I still find this naming kind of confusing, because essentially when you're calling deposit, you're withdrawing the token, kind of. So like you're calling deposit and now you're getting DPI on Polygon, essentially. And withdraw is what you would call to go back to the root chain. So if I wanted to move my DPI from Polygon back to Ethereum, I would call this withdraw function instead. And you're probably looking at this and wondering like, oh, how does it know what token address is being used, right? Because there's no like ERC20, like there's no like address variable in here that tells them what to use. And you have to remember that this is a proxy contract, so most likely there is a proxy for every single ERC20 token that does have a bridge. In this case, it looks like this was actually the proxy for USDT, not DPI. So I'm wondering if there is an event log missing from here, actually. So it seems odd that we can see that there's two minting occurrences happening, but only one is emitted. So that's interesting. I wonder why the Etherscan is missing the second one. But I forgot how I found the bridge contract on Ethereum, but there is a matching contract on Ethereum. I'm trying to remember, how did I find it? I'm blanking a little. Let's see. One way to do it is just to look through this Elias's query and look for Polygon. It looks like that is the address I'm looking for. Yeah, predicate proxy. So Polygon has this predicate proxy. So there's a proxy on both sides, essentially, where you can match a token from one to another, like one address to another address on another bridge. And so this should also have deposit and withdrawal functions. Better match. Oh, this is the proxy. Right. So deposit. Yeah, so in this case, it's called lock tokens. So you lock your tokens here so that you can, quote unquote, deposit them from here, which is actually withdrawing. So the naming's a little confusing, and I'm sure someone will, if they watch this video, will figure it out why they call it this way. But essentially, you lock your tokens here, and I'll put this in here, lock here, and withdraw from above. Right. And essentially, that's how minting works on Polygon for DPI. And the point of that whole conversation last week was just because if you check the balance or like contract functions or whatnot of a token on like L1, just be mindful that it might not be the same functions and events on L2. And like even across L2s, it's probably different, right? Because certain L2s have different structures. But yeah, so that was the whole point of that divergence last week. That's a fairly complex set of concepts. Like I think bridges are like probably one of the most innovative parts of Ethereum right now, right? Because you have, how do you bridge an ERC20 token between two chains? How do you bridge an ERC721 token between chains, like L1, L2? And then like, how do you bridge ERC20 tokens between L2 chains? So if I wanted to go from Polygon to Optimism, like would I have to go Polygon, Ethereum, then Optimism? Or can I like do the same lock token contract onto, and then like withdraw it from Optimism directly, right? So that gets really, really complicated. If anyone wants to do extra reading into it, definitely let me know. I think the best overview, if you want to get into a technical level, because essentially the problem with these bridges is like you don't want to rely on someone like a Oracle or like a third party essentially to say, yes, I see the token here, you can now mint there. You want it to be as trustless as possible. So to do that, there is, I think it's this one. Hold on. That is actually good resources. So this YouTube video by James Prestwich, really, really smart person, explains bridges well, and like the problems of it. And then this is a research article that's a lot longer, and it's a little old now, but it still has a lot of really good concepts on like what's difficult about bridges, and like the data complexities, right? Because like even talks about like we've been talking about bridging Ethereum chains, but if you think about like how did like wrapped Bitcoin come to play, right? Like how do you bridge from like Solana to Ethereum or like backwards, right? Where the chains are completely different in terms of like language, and like clients, for example. Like that's really complex. Anyways, those are fun watch and fun read, if you want to get into it. But hopefully that's helpful. I hope I didn't lose everyone on that.
One thing I can add is just study the bridge dashboard by Elias to see how that stuff works in Dune, basically. And on L2s, it's sometimes a bit like you can't really see if something has been created naturally on the L2 or from a bridge, because it's just both gonna be minted from the 0 address. So that's a bit of a mind bender. So you basically have to go to the correspondent L1 and check there how many tokens have been bridged, and then you could use that data for L2. So that's a bit of a, I don't know, most tokens don't actually natively mint on L1 and L2. So that kind of like, there's no other possibility than it being bridged. But that just as a little caveat.
Yeah, point is it's a pain in the butt until we have like standardization where it's like, this is the one way we're gonna bridge everything. So like maybe 2 years from now. But until then, it's like, imagine working with ERC20s where the like, ERC20 standard didn't exist yet. Anyways. Cool, we still have 10 minutes. Does anyone else have any questions?
Is there a technical resource for uh, getting into the nitty-gritties of the Ethereum concepts? I was going through your blog as well on Mirror. Other than that, from the
Yeah.
perspective of a person who is kind of new to this space, I mean, the SQL part is okay, but for example, I know what bridging actually is. I know what it means in terms of abstraction, but let's say if I want to read the papers, or is there a list of, let's say, any white papers that you think that everyone must know, or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Boxer, we can take some time to like get a larger source of them. It really depends on the topics you want to go into.
Okay.
Like if you want to understand DeFi, like you have to read like the Uniswap white paper, the Curve white paper, and probably like the Balancer white paper. I think those three are like good coverage of like some very different approaches in the DEX space. Trying to think what else is really important. Lending pools, I think, are more self-explanatory, but like I think, okay, maybe it helps to like have a map of like the difficulties of what goes to what. So like in the lending pool space, you have like the basics of like compound Aave, and then you start to get more complex with stuff like Alchemix, which is like self-paying loans, and then you get really complex if you go into something like Liquidity. Essentially. So like if you want to do more reading on lending pools slash vaults, like these are good ones to look into. On exchanges, I'm not the expert there, but the ones I was talking about earlier, like starting from like dexes and then going into aggregators, right? Dexes into aggregators is probably helpful. Like just read about everything in Danning's presentation. I don't know if you want to go into like algorithmic coins and algorithmic stable coins, stuff like that. That stuff gets kind of crazy. But you should at least read about how DAI's mechanics work. As a start. So like for DeFi, these are like required reading basically to be like, okay, I kind of know what's going on in the space and like how we got to where we are. If you want to read about DAOs, that's less white papers, but you do have to read through a bunch of forums. Like I think Urin's forum is a really good one to read through. Maker's forum is a really good one to read through. And like go to like FWB and Forefront, like those, like, so these are like social protocol. So you should definitely read, like, just read through their resources and like what you can find about those for. If you want to read about bridges and L2, I would start with the article I wrote on bridges and then kind of read. You can do some reading on the different bridges, but I think it's more helpful to just read about the different L2s. So a good one was, I think DC Builder did one, or two, mirror. This one. This one came out yesterday, and it's like the best overview of L2s I've ever seen. And I think like that will help you a lot in terms of like once you understand why these L2s are different, then you'll start to better understand why the bridges are built the way they are, and like why, like for example, if you're like on Optimism or Arbitrum, which is called like an optimistic rollup, if you wanted to bridge from Ethereum to Optimism, it's like a 7-day transfer process essentially because of like their fraud proof system, right? And you could build around that with like an Oracle, but there's like different problems with doing that. If you really want to read some interesting ones, definitely read. I think Connects is an interesting one to read about, but it's kind of confusing to understand. But yeah, I'm gonna walk back on that. Just read this article. The other stuff, just wait till bridges are more standardized. I feel like to like really read more about it, unless that's something you want to build on. But yeah, let's see. Other really important. Oh, how could I forget EIPs? You have to read. You don't have to, but it's very helpful to read Ethereum EIPs. Know what they are. Know why they're required. Right. So EIPs could be for changing like the client code itself, right? Like EIP 1559. It could.
What does EIP mean, Andrew?
Oh yeah, sorry. EIP stands for Ethereum Improvement Proposal, right? So essentially anyone can author an Ethereum Improvement Proposal and talk about like what they want to change and like why they want to change it. And essentially if this goes through the whole EIP process of review and approving, then like the all core devs, which is like the group of Ethereum developers who are working on like client level code, they'll then implement an EIP, right? Into like what's called a soft fork, which is just like updating the Geth repo, right? So like what I mean by that, we've showed this on the first day that you have clients like Go Ethereum, right? That I could run on my computer. So like if you do a whole EIP process to like, I don't know, get rid of gas, for example, then the EIP process passes, then in Geth, the developers will make it so there's no more gas anymore, right? Not that that would ever pass, but like that would be committed. Everyone would update their clients, and then you'd be working on, or you'd be using Ethereum on post EIP 1, right? But EIPs are also useful for APIs and for Solidity standards, right? So your wallet, for example, your wallet has specific APIs that can and can't be called by the web page, right? So like a wallet, like the page can like create a transaction for me, right? But it can't sign the transaction for me. It can like request to add a token to the tracker. It can request to switch my my network. Did they remove testnets from here? Oh, it's just not there by default anymore. Okay, interesting UX choice. I don't know if I like that. Like for example, like you can see it being a security issue if I'm connected to some page and like they subtly change me from Ethereum to Polygon and then make me sign a transaction, and I'm actually signing like a malicious contract on Polygon, right? So there were ERPs for that, for like API endpoints for wallets, for example. All of the ERCs we've talked about, ERC20s, 721, 1155, like there's like thousands of different token standards. Not all of them have been passed or adopted, but there are many different evolutions of them. And a lot of the standards are like small changes or enhancements to like the original ERC20, 721, and 1155 kind of like base standards, right? this is a very deep rabbit hole. I would choose a topic you're interested in before diving into this. Like, I think a good one, and I'm just gonna self-shill again. Visibility for wallets, I think. So, for example, I did an article this year, looking through like everything wallets, right? So like, how did wallets become what they are today, and like, what are the different parts of it? All right, so your wallet is actually like these 4 different parts, all bundled into one thing, right? And like the way that we got here was through like a ton of different EIPs and like development changes, right? And like hardware wallet change, like all of that stuff. So yeah, I like, point being, pick a topic you're interested in, then start reading about it, and like just go through like the EIP changes, like the repos, the protocols, like the actual applications and what changed, like the people, you know. And a lot of that takes time to build up to, but that's
Yeah, that was really interesting. Can you please paste this in the chat? Yeah.
before I lose.
I think I have like enough things to read for the next 2 weeks, I guess, at the very least.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for that.
This is probably more than 2 weeks of reading, but yeah, and I think like other good resources to keep in mind this week in Ethereum. Week in Ethereum news. Good news sources like this one, Bankless, Daily Gwei, obviously our network. Those are all good sources as well.
Daily Ape.
Oh yes, how could I forget? That one's a Telegram group, but yeah, let me. Telegram. This one is really good. I hope you guys are all subscribed to OurNetwork. Bankless. I will say that Bankless I mostly use for the podcast. They might flame me for it, but I find the interviews interesting. The reading is helpful as a start. Like Bankless has guide number 1, which might be a little outdated now. Okay, that's definitely outdated. But it's still helpful. I'm trying to remember. Finematics. YouTube. That's going to be a controversial video, but Finematics is good. Yes, thank you, Lynn. I didn't even know he had a Notion site. But yeah, like that's definitely enough to get you going. So, good question.
Yeah, maybe I can add to that.
Yes, please do.
Not qualitatively, but just ape around in the space. Like the best way you're gonna learn is if you actually have incentive, and if you're part of the ecosystem, if you're aping around, if there's your money at stake, then you'll be forced to learn. So yeah, and it oftentimes pays to be like a ape in the space as well. So I've definitely learned the most about the projects that I actually invested in and stuff. So or which I thought about investing in. So I think getting the incentives right and basically like forcing yourself to pay attention to certain things because you are invested, even if it's a small amount, just like make a Polygon wallet and just do a bunch of stuff. That way you'll I think the puzzle pieces will click together quicker instead of you just reading about them. Actually do something. And Rabbit Hole is doing the perfect stuff for that. Just do a bunch of Rabbit Hole quests and you'll understand much faster.
That's definitely true. Yeah, there's no better way to learn than just to get your hands dirty on it. Definitely playing with the protocols. If any of you have time to do like an ETH Global Hackathon, like that will teach you so much. That's like obviously a lot of time, but like, yeah, that's it's like the final frontier. So, all right, I'm gonna end this recording.